Hey, what's up, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and today we're going to be talking about the shutdown of Magic Legends, which is coming soon, shutting down October 31st, 2021. Ranting a little bit, pandentically maybe, possibly, about alphas, betas, open betas, and how companies use this to avoid criticism, and overall, in general, as well as mal or mismarketing towards consumers, doing the wrong genre tags as well, and just basically building games from the marketing as a foundation all the way to basically the finished product, or what they consider a beta product, I guess in this case. But yeah, when they release a game and basically they're just targeting demographics, they're fishing for whales, and it's just uproariously obvious. So anyways, we have all that to talk about, but first I just want to say that if you guys actually need help publishing your game, if it's a trailer, if it's definitely a website or something like that, you need me to make your Discord and set up your subreddit, I will definitely got you covered. I do provide my services. Thank you so much for checking that out, and email me at skyleshore@gmail.com. Anyways, so talking about a mispublishing, oh my god, talking about somebody doing the wrong things, definitely can tell you that. As a content creator, I kind of saw this coming as somebody who is definitely connected to games of this genre, such as Path of Exile, Diablo, and many other games as a service, looter action RPGs, Warframe, Destiny. These kind of games definitely have an ebb and flow to them and definitely a vibe of early access or indie, or just overall, like, there's definitely a level of jank and unpolishedness, because it's really more important just to get, or almost spam, new content. It's important to just kind of get stuff out there, and it's also really easy to kind of feed the beast that is players who have addictive personalities who really enjoy RNG style, loot box style mechanics, and that's all fun in games when the loot box is the game, such as Path of Exile or Diablo. But when you start entwining mobile game practices, it gets really dubious, such as with Warframe, correct? Where now Warframe, you notice that they do a lot of lazy updates, or they just do like things that are mostly bark and no bite, and it's stuff that doesn't have much substance. And then you have games such as a lot of mobile games, even though many mobile ARPGs are actually very legitimate and cool, but you know what I'm talking about, just mobile game practices in general. Yeah, that kind of stuff, really susceptible in the ARPG genre, and that was the case with Magic Legends here, which is a looter action RPG heavily inspired by obviously the card game, with RNG mechanics, progression, RNG loot box style monetization, etc. All that good stuff. But the big selling point was that it was supposed to have sort of a card draw style mechanic to the game. It was supposed to be a looter, collectible style game, and then obviously action RPG. It was supposed to be comfortable for people who enjoyed Diablo, but set in the Magic the Gathering multiverse. Really exciting stuff. But that's all over. Game is shutting down. October 31st, that's it. We got that announcement, and yeah, it's just, wow, this is just sucky. But anyways, what's not so sucky is that you will be refunded if you spent any money in this game. You can do that. You can still actually play the game if you want to. I don't know why you would, because no, there's not really anything to miss here. And sometimes that's the case. Sometimes there are some really cool games. Even though the monetization was bad, I like this game called Lego Minifigures. It was an action RPG. You had to actually collect multiple characters and hot swap between them in combat. It was for kids, but I didn't care. It was kind of cool, and that shut down. So not every game that shuts down is worthy of shutting down. There are some behind the scenes stuff, or maybe it just didn't get a demographic. Maybe they did bad trailers, which, by the way, I make trailers if you need good trailers. But yeah, maybe they just published it incorrectly, which is totally the case. Sometimes you get this big publisher. Generally, it's, frankly, it's stuff like Perfect World, or it's Nexon, or you guys know what I'm talking about, right? These kind of companies that they rather sort of throw stuff at a wall and see what sticks, and they will shut down things instantaneously. And so sometimes you get good games like Gigantic that get shut down, and sometimes you get really, really bad games actually being produced, such as Magic Legends. That is, I think, in my opinion, going to be the case here. But sometimes, these publishers, they cause things to be released too soon. So that might also be a factor. It's entirely possible, and we're going to kind of run down a quick history of this game real quick, that the game was sort of steered and perverted a little bit, and it could have been really cool, which my first video whenever it was announced was like, okay, I'm on board. I think it could be bad, but it could be good. But then as we got more and more information about this game, it was like, okay, they're mismarketing, they're using the wrong terms, it's a totally different genre now, and then yeah, it just sort of went downhill from there. So let's go ahead and get into that. So yeah, this game shutting down, why is that? Originally, this game was announced as an MMO. And then it obviously turned out to not be an MMO. And I think that's a huge reason why it cleaved its player base in half at that. You announced it, it got a ton of attention, because Magic the Gathering and MMO, holy shit. But then then it wasn't. Then it still continued to use the MMO marketing for a little bit, but then clearly we could see some of the mechanics. They were talking about what was actually going to be in the game, and then they announced that it wasn't going to be massively multiplayer, but they were still calling it an MMO. They were still trying to target a certain demographic, but clearly the game wasn't going to be that anymore. And then we started getting gameplay footage and everything like that, and we're like, oh, okay, this is just like Diablo but Magic the Gathering, with like some gutted mechanics and some twists and turns here or there, but it could still maybe be silly. It could be silly fun, even if we don't take it seriously. It could be something. Okay, but then finally, we actually got to play it, even though not technically in a gold state or released state. Don't worry, rant on that later. No, man, people, even in its beta state, people were like, holy shit, no, I can't, this is bad. It was unpolished, performance was horrible, the monetization was pay to win, the loot box style gameplay just wasn't incentivizing enough, it just wasn't gripping enough, it just wasn't good enough, and really just wasn't finished. And now, here's the thing, guys. I know you guys are gonna say, well, duh, because it's in beta, but here's the thing. Developers have all the power with that. They can say it's alpha, they can say it's early access forever, they can say it's beta whenever they want, they can put a game back into beta, which has actually been the case with a few games somewhat recently. They've gold, you pay for the game, you buy it, it's gold, and then like, oh no, actually we're going back to beta. This has happened. So, Anthem. Anyways, in which it generally happens with action RPGs and looter style games as a service. But this game just wasn't even ready for playability. And not only ready for testing or playability to the public, it wasn't ready to spend money on. It had its monetization open and available. And here's the thing, guys. For me as a consumer, and I guess definitely as a reviewer, I gotta say that I want the power. I want it. That's how you have something that's consumer friendly, something that I think is more fair and gives power to me, that I can share with you guys, is if you allow me to say, okay, this game feels beta. Okay, this game actually is a complete and cohesive product. Now that is something that you use in development terms whenever you are developing an app. Trust me, I went to school for game design. You say this is alpha, this is not, like, we're getting the features all together. Beta is like, you're really testing those features, making sure that they're all cohesive, and then gold is, okay, for the most part, this is fire and forget. People will have a cohesive, full experience that was the original concept. It's like, it's got, its whole gameplay loop is circular. It's, not fragmented. It doesn't have like game-breaking bugs that's gonna ruin everything all the time. It's a complete product. So open beta, obviously, it wasn't finished, it wasn't done, but they sold the game. That's the thing. So as a reviewer, if you have anything like, you have to buy the game, if you can spend money in the game, if you are selling your game, it's done. Like, if you can sell your game and play it, then there literally is no difference between like beta or released. It's just kind of what you are calling it. And developers do this sort of thing as a way of, it's basically marketing. I mean, it literally, it's just marketing, actually. It's just a way to sort of skirt by criticisms, which happens actually all the time. In fact, for videos I did on this very game, for games that I have done before, like MMOs and betas and those kind of games where you do need betas, you do need testing and stuff like that, but if you can buy into it, if there's a cash shop, all the gloves are off. I'm gonna be like, yo, this game sucks, it's laggy, it's buggy, why would I invest time and money and effort into this game when it's clearly not done? And then what happens is that when it's beta, you're sort of allowed an alleviation of criticisms, and also you have your fanatics. You have champions who are the ones who tend to play games early, right? Magic the Gathering. I love Magic the Gathering. I'm a fan of Magic, so I'm going to champion and defend the hell out of this game. It's in beta, Sky. You're not allowed to say anything about this game. Obviously, it's not done yet. Well, obviously it is done because it's shutting down. Obviously it is done because you could spend money in it. Obviously this game is done. And I know it seems kind of unfair maybe at the moment because you do get refunds now. The game is shutting down. You will be refunded. What was the harm in the end? But the thing is the harm maybe now isn't quite done, but some people did waste their time. It's just, it was the intention. And it's the incentivization that developers have to really just Hail Mary or just kind of scatter shot, grape shot, throw things at the wall, see what sticks, and just basically do whatever they can, what they can get away with. Now, in this case, they didn't get away with it because likely there is direct AAA production, style competition with games like Diablo, obviously, or Path of Exile, and now people are playing games like Warframe or Destiny, and they're seeing how games can kind of be really well done, and then also how they can fall from grace. People are now becoming more educated, and they are more enlightened. Basically, all of these sort of predatory practices, even to the point, if you guys didn't know, just how developers use the beta or early access term to skirt criticisms. Yeah, now you guys are more, like, these things have been elucidated. You guys are more aware of these issues and how they can affect the greater gaming community, as well as the incentivization of developers. So basically, yeah, they thought they could make Magic the Gathering, they thought they could just shit that out there, call it beta, and just be a forever early access game, basically, which was Warframe and many other titles beforehand, and just kind of test the waters with monetization and basically bait for whales and whalefish. And if you guys don't know, whale fishing basically means targeting a demographic that tends to have addictive personalities and also tends to be more willing to spend money in games, and a lot of money, because you get more money from any one whale than basically hundreds of other people. You want somebody who can spend $100 versus just like 100 people that can spend $1. That's just, you make more money. And the thing is you spend less money developing a smaller game, developing a more focused game, and then also because these are games as a service, so you might see this trend, especially in Warframe or a few other titles recently, instead of making really cool, epic, and substantial gameplay expansions, what you're mostly doing is rehashing content, replayable content, and you just kind of make an addictive loot box as a game that then also has loot box monetization on top of it, and it just sort of feeds in all to those basically like predatory practices that sort of puncture and pierce the brain of those who are permeable to those. And that's really, I think, tragic, and that's something that obviously a game like this I would not want my son to play, and yet at the same time I do think RNG and luck and chance and maybe even card draw mechanics, those things are fun and interesting, and I do have fun in some card games, but I don't support those monetization practices, and I really don't support this whole game's development just cycle and practice as well. Again, all the way from like the fact that they're hiding behind a guise of open beta, which obviously meant nothing because they're shutting down before the game even releases, to like obviously rushing out a game. They just shit out a game and thought it would be okay, to like perverting really the core concepts of what makes Magic the Gathering. Really, Magic the Gathering games kind of suck, haven't they? Almost all of them have been not that great. Why is that? Why can other games just basically invent entire card games instantaneously that go viral, that are competitive, that are more compelling, and definitely more fair when it comes to their monetization, looking at League of Legends card game, than freaking Magic the Gathering? Because the incentive isn't there to do that. Because they've seen their history. This company knows that they have a big wealthy audience, as in terms of size and in terms of wallets, and they did all this market research, and they knew that they had a banger on their hands, even if it wasn't a good game. Except they didn't even make just an okay game. That was their fault. That's really just the end, problem with this. Because no, some people are taking away the moral that, oh, you can't make pay-to-win games. Oh, you can't just make, cash grab games. No, you can. You can definitely do that. You can make cash grab games. You can make, mobile game style games all the time. You can do that. People get away with it all the fucking time. The problem is those generally have, okay production. They're at least okay. They're at least decent. They at least have some hooks that really actually capture the whales. This game did not. This game was just completely not what it could have been, should have been. Now, in my opinion, if I can just end this video with this, what I do want to say is I think this game could have worked if it was designed as a tablet-style action RPG, especially on iPads, or Microsoft Surface tablets. If it was really more of like a phone game that, really, like some action RPGs are fun. If it was a phone game that kept its RPG mechanics, it was an action RPG, but focused more on summoning. Think like basically Diablo meets Clash Royale. If you combine those things and set it in the Magic the Gathering multiverse, where there's tons of different units to play with, different planeswalkers as well, spells to use, like obviously, literally Magic the Gathering, the card game, and then maybe even had puzzle modes or something like that, puzzle-style bosses, where maybe you needed different units here or there, different combinations to run through a dungeon. And I do actually like the draw mechanics, which if you haven't played Clash Royale, you don't just summon any unit you want, you do have to actually draw them, and there is an order to that. So I think that's really cool. I think that could have happened, but this game just half-assed everything and really was just an incredibly watered-down, really poopy Diablo clone, where it could have been this fun, snappy, more kind of strategic or strategy summoner-style action RPG that would have actually made it really unique and incredibly viral. And you could have just looked at not just market research, the demographic of people who play these kind of games, but market research, the actual art. That's the thing that a lot of games get wrong. Is they just kind of look at what the bare minimum that they can do to make a game and then sell it to whales. So they, they do all their analytics and stuff like that. Oh, okay, a looter action RPG, Magic the Gathering. Okay, it needs to have this style, art style, blah, 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 these microtransactions. Sure, whatever, shut the fuck up. But you need to look at the game, like actually play Path of Exile, actually play Diablo, actually go into mobile games and see what other, card games do and card mechanics and draw mechanics, which I think they kind of did, but in the end, I think you could have done this more tastefully and created more of an art first. Because if you're going to bait for whales, the bait has to be appetizing. Make a prettier, well-performing game. Make something that's genuinely interesting, at least a little bit. But in the end, no, this game just wasn't even, I think, okay. And, you can try to defend, oh, it wasn't released yet. No, before release, it should be okay, at least. Release, it should be great. Released, it should be considered art. Released, it should be considered finished. But I'm going to leave you guys with an amazing quote because it's hyper relevant, especially to games as a service. But art is never completed. It's never finished, guys. It is only ever abandoned. Yeah. So, keep that in mind, guys. This game, it's been abandoned. And whether you think it could have been great or not, I think in the end, every game actually has a chance of being great. It just is always abandoned. And I think we're seeing more and more that publishers like Nexon, Perfect World, and these style games, companies, yeah, they abandon a lot of their titles. And it seems like they release them too early. And it seems like they change around some things and pervert the original core concepts just enough to piss everyone off, pretty much. And I think that's a tragedy because there really was kind of something a little bit here that is gone now. And here's a big problem now. Being a Magic game, which already those don't have a great rep, I think that kind of has ruined the potential for an actual Magic the Gathering MMO from coming out anytime soon. I think that will happen eventually because Magic isn't going anywhere and MMOs actually aren't going anywhere. But yeah, for now, it looks like that dream is dead. So what do you guys think actually about this game getting turned off here? Again, October 31st, won't be able to play it anymore, but then again, don't think you should. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Much love, friends and family. That's the rant. That's all I gotta say. I'll see you in the next one.